Hey guys, welcome back, it's Ripe again. In today's video, my entitled neighbor vandalized my classic car that was parked on my lawn on private property with a crowbar. I will show you why she ends up regretting it. Here is what happened. There is nothing I had more pride for in my life than my old classic car. My 1965 Ford Mustang was something that I wanted to display but never had the kind of method to do like other people. Doing some research, I found out that in my neighborhood parking cars on the front lawn was fine, unlike some other places. I decided it was a perfect place for me to display my Mustang and finally get it out of the garage. The results were instant and people started stopping to look at my car and talk to me when I was outside about it. Turns out that a lot of car people lived in my neighborhood and I had no idea about it. It felt great to talk to other people about my passion and I got to hear about theirs. There was only one problem with this entire thing, and it was a woman that lives a couple doors down that I will call Karen. She was a nasty lady that seemed to find problems with everything and put her nose into business that was not hers. I don't think she was liked by most people that lived near her, mainly because she was always seeming to be selling something door to door. And by something, I mean different scammy products. I figured that it was more when it would happen than if when it came to her seeing my car. Right away, it was clear she did not know anything about classic cars, which was honestly fine. People are allowed different hobbies. But to act like you know everything when you know nothing is really a crappy thing to do. I was outside cutting some overgrowth on my bushes when Karen came over. I saw her in my peripheral vision and just kept an eye on what she was doing. She seemed to be circling around my car, and for about half a second I thought things might turn out to be fine. That hope died quickly the moment that she came over and tapped me on the shoulder. Me, yes? Karen, do you really think we live in that kind of neighborhood? Me, huh? Karen, this is not some hillbilly town where you can just park your broken down piece of tin right on the front lawn. None of the homes for sale around here are gonna sell if they see that piece of crap parked out here. Me, actually it's a 1965. See, you even admit that it is old. Just get it sent to a dump and stop making things look bad. If you don't, then somebody else might do something about it if you catch my drift. I wanted to explain to her that it was actually a classic car worth about 40k and would not devalue the neighborhood. In fact, if I was a car person and saw that parked on a lawn, I would be more interested in buying a house nearby. It can make it look like the neighborhood is filled with people having nice fancy things. That is, if the people wanting to buy a house actually care about that thing. Maybe it's just me, but I don't really care about how a neighborhood is perceived when it comes to the people having money. I was not happy about her threat though and made sure to contact the town. I wanted to tell them about my car being parked on my lawn and double checking that it was fine. They told me it was, and that if Karen tried to get it towed, it would not work. The only tow trucks allowed in the neighborhood are the town official ones, and they would not tow a car off a lawn. I was relieved and figured that Karen moved on once she realized that she could not do anything. I was wrong. She got fixated on my car and wanting me to get rid of it and move it somewhere else. It was on my lawn to stay though, and despite many efforts she wouldn't listen about the actual value of the car, calling it old and needing to be sent to a dump because it devalues the area. The only time I would really move it into my garage was when the weather was gonna be bad. Then when the sun came out again, so did my car. Well, one day I came outside and caught Karen red-handed finally making true on her threat to do something about my car. She had a crowbar in her hands and had already smashed the windows and made several dents in the car. She seemed to be aiming to smash the windshield next before I ran up and tried to get the crowbar away from her. I had no idea she was as strong as she was though, and I couldn't get it from her. Me, what the hell are you doing to my car? Do you have any idea what you have done? You are crazy! Karen, you should have kept it in your garage or sent it to a dump. Get the hell off of me before I call the police on you! It was a screaming match back and forth like that for a while before it came to a boil. She got the crowbar and instead of going back towards the car, attempted to swing it at my head. I ducked just in time and could feel the air from the crowbar swing. That was how close she was to hitting me with it. I don't know who called the police, but I could hear the sirens coming and eventually see the flashing lights. I wanted to tell them what Karen did, but she was faster and yelling that I assaulted her and she wanted me arrested. All of this while still holding her crowbar in front of the smashed up car. One officer got my side of the story and I told him that I came out to her destroying my car and then trying to hit me with the crowbar. They arrested her for assault and destruction of property, and she looked genuinely shocked that they didn't side with her. I couldn't wait for the court when she found out the true price tag of the damage that she had done. For the assault charge, she was arguing that it wasn't assault because I ducked out of the way and did not get hit, not realizing that she had just admitted to it in front of everybody in the courtroom. Then she tried to say that assault is only something men do to women and not the other way around. She was found guilty on that charge pretty quickly. When it came to the destruction of property, it was a little trickier. Basically, there are levels, I guess, and it's based on the amount of damage you did price-wise. So breaking something that is $5 versus my $40,000 car would be very different. She assumed she would not get in much trouble because she was telling her lawyer that it was a very old junk car, not worth anything. When she found out how much the car was worth, I felt like her jaw would have hit the ground if it physically could. For both things together, she was given a prison sentence. And by the way, I had to censor something there because OP gave out too much personal information and I would not want him to dox himself. Anyway, it was good enough for me because she was getting a taste of justice and the real world. Plus, she would also owe me for the car and I was planning on using every penny to get my car repaired again. When she was ready to get out of prison, I wanted to make sure that my car was back on the lawn for her to see. And yeah, ripe stars, that of course would be the icing on the cake. Karen getting out of prison, having to pay for the car and then seeing the same car on the lawn again. That would be absolutely perfect revenge. Either way, if you enjoyed the story, please don't forget to like the video and maybe even post a comment, because that would help me tremendously since YouTube is giving me a hard time again lately in regards to sending my videos out to subscribers. Thank you so much, and the next one is another revenge story. So, some necessary backstory. My guilty pleasure is karaoke. I love going to local bars when there's a karaoke night on. I got a musical background and I studied music at Cambridge University in the UK, graduating with first class honors for my bachelor's degree and my master's in music performance. I also trained at the Royal Academy for a while. I specialized in music theory and I am now a teacher in a local college. I'm primarily a classical guitarist, but I'm also a grade 8 standard on piano and flute. I'm also lucky to be blessed with a perfect pitch. I've never studied vocals or ever had any singing lessons, but my musical aptitude and perfect pitch make me a decent singer. And above the average ability of most people who get up to sing at karaoke. I don't go to karaoke to show off or anything. I enjoy listening to everyone, good and bad, and just generally having a laugh with my friends. I met the DJs Kate and Peter, a husband and wife DJ team from the next town over, about 8 years ago when I started going to a weekly karaoke at a local bar, and over time we have become close friends. I follow them to every bar they go to for karaoke, help them out with their company's social media pages, and act as unofficial tech support. They also occasionally give me some DJ work when they are double booked. However, despite this, I'm not an employee of the company. I just like to help out and I don't get paid for my tech work, and I make a flat rate of £100 for each gig they give me. They get the surplus. This is important for later. The story: so about 3 years ago, Kate and Peter were booked for a recurring monthly karaoke at a members-only social club in a town about 15 miles away. I already knew a lot of the people who were members there from karaoke at other bars they had come to, specifically a bar which was just up the road from this club. One of these people, Bill, was on the committee for the club. He was a good friend of mine, so I had a chat with him and made sure that although I was not a member, at this point I was okay to come to the karaoke once a month. At the first night at the club, I met Jane and Robert. I learned that Jane was the entertainment manager on the committee, and Robert was a major narcissist who thought that he was Elvis Presley reincarnated with an ego the size of Europe. He only sings Elvis songs and tries to do the dance moves to match. He even has at least 5 full-blown Elvis costumes he wears, even on a casual basis. He thought the sun shines out of his rear was the best singer in the county. He really wasn't, he was really quite bad, and I quickly learned that he instantly disliked anyone who was a better singer than him. He was right up Jane's rear and she would do anything he said. Initially, they were both nice to me, but after I sang, they would refuse to talk to me despite going out of my way to talk to them every month. And I had never showed any hostility towards them. This went on for a year. Bear in mind that Jane and Robert are in their mid to late 60s, I'm in my early 30s, and it was like dealing with a couple of kids. I swear the students I teach are more mature than they'll ever be. In the end, I gave up trying to be nice and salvage some sort of friendship and only spoke to them when I had to. Over the course of the year, Robert would instruct Jane to stop certain people singing, he would not allow anyone else to sing Elvis songs. There's hundreds on the hard drive FFS, and even tried to get people banned from the karaoke and the club. They had a major falling out with my friend Bill. He sang an Elvis song without Robert's permission, which was escalated to the head of the committee, but no action taken as there was a lack of evidence, despite several witness statements in Bill's favor. At this point, they had never done anything like this towards me, so I wouldn't get involved in any of the disputes. They really pissed a lot of people off, but there was not much that could be done about it, as the committee would always say there was a lack of evidence. Suddenly the karaoke stopped, Jane did not rebook Peter and Kate. We later learned that Robert was moaning to Jane over the Bill incident and demanded that the karaoke stopped. At this point I had made many friends at the club and had also started going to their monthly quiz nights, so I had decided to become a full-paying member. I'm a helpful and kind person by nature, and I'm always more than happy to give my input if it can help. I got involved in the quiz, I even wrote and ran a few for free, and passed on details of my musical connections for when they wanted live music, which was at a reduced rate for the club as the booking had essentially come through me for my friends and connections. I helped to update their till systems, install Wi-Fi, made posters, and helped promote events at the club on the internet and social media, all for free. The management loved me. Everyone was disappointed at the karaoke being cancelled as it was always busy and everyone had a great time despite Jane and Robert. It took us a few weeks to find out the truth of why it was cancelled and there was a minor uproar which I didn't get involved in. However, Jane stood her ground and nothing could be done because she was the entertainment manager, so the buck stopped with her. Around 6 months later, Jane decided to start the karaoke nights again. I assume Robert was fed up of not being able to show off and booked Kate and Peter again for the following month. Everyone was very happy as the karaoke was always popular, brought in new members and good revenue for the club. So the karaoke night rolls around and by the end of the night I realized that my last 2 turns were skipped and Robert sang the most songs. Suspecting something fishy, the next day I went around to Kate and Peter's house for coffee to find out what, if anything, had happened. Lo and behold, my suspicions were right. Kate told me that about halfway through the night, Jane had approached them and said, "Can you not let OP sing anymore? She's really annoying everyone and we don't want professional singers putting people off. And she is making people leave." I was pissed. I was not angry at Kate and Peter, they had to comply with what Jane said because she had threatened non-payment and no more work there if they didn't. So they did what they had to do. After being a regular at this club, a full-paying member for nearly a year, and all of the work I had put into helping the place for free, I could not believe their audacity and I was annoyed that they couldn't even say it to my face. So the next day I went to the club knowing Jane would be there in order to confront her. I hate confrontation and I'm usually pretty easygoing, but I was not going to be singled out and lied about, and I've always been the type of person that if you've got something to say or a problem with me, come and talk to me and we'll try and work it out. I really cannot stand being talked about behind my back though. So before talking to Jane, I went and spoke to a few of my friends who were there. I needed to know if they had thought or said that I was annoying them with my presence at the karaoke, and if any of them had said anything to Jane or Robert before I confronted to her, so I could get my facts straight. They were shocked and I learned that the only one complaining about me was Robert. It seemed that I was next on his hit list. So then I approached Jane. This is how the conversation went down to the best of my memory. Me: "Hi Jane, can I talk to you for a minute?" Jane: I guess so, but I'm very busy. "I just want to know why you and Robert stopped me from singing at the karaoke the other night. Everyone was getting annoyed with you and we don't want professional singers at the karaoke and it's not fair anyway because you work for Kate and Peter." Me: "But I'm not a professional singer, Jane. As you know, I'm a guitarist and I'm a teacher. I've never made a living from singing, nor have I ever been employed by Kate and Peter." I spoke to everyone and no one else was annoyed with me. It was literally just Robert. No one left because of me either. Jane: "That's all lies. You're just being an entitled brat." Me: "You think that I'm the entitled one? And you're saying that I don't know what my own job is and that everyone else here is a liar too?" Jane: "You should know that you're not welcome here. No one likes you. You should just leave and stay away. I'm gonna talk to management and get you banned." Me: "Okay Jane, you do that." This is obviously a lost cause and fruitless conversation. Jane, you're the lost cause. All you have done is upset people since you came here. At this point, I left more pissed off than I was before and started plotting my revenge. Thankfully, I was not banned because I was on good terms with the management after all the work I had done for them. I knew my plan would take time to pull off, and this may seem like a really petty reason for revenge to you, but nearly everyone at the club had suffered at the hands of Jane and Robert at some point, some worse than me, and in my opinion, they needed to get their comeuppance. They needed to know that the club did not revolve around them only and that they cannot treat people this way. I doubted anyone else would go up against them. I was willing to be in it until the bitter end, and I got way more than I had hoped for. The revenge I started was going to the club more regularly than before. I needed to make friends with everyone for my end move, and people love to talk and gossip. I wanted all the dirt on Jane and Robert that I could get my hands on. I heard rumors that Robert was acting as an unlicensed agent for bands and singers, that Jane was in on it, and they were both taking a cut of the money that the band was being paid by the club to perform. This is very morally wrong and most likely illegal, but if it was true, this was huge. Over the course of 10 months or so, I set up multiple sting operations using my contacts in music circles to gather evidence of this. It turned out that the rumors were indeed true. Jane would tell the club that the band was charging £250 but pay them £200, keeping £50 for herself, and then Robert would charge them a £50 agent's fee for the gig. After some digging online, I found out Robert had even set up a fake agency company in order to look legit. I invested a hidden spy camera, asked my friends to record their meetings with Robert and Jane, as well as record all phone calls and to forward all emails sent between them. In the end, I had a big ring binder full of evidence of this shady operation. They were booking performers 3 times a week. Bear in mind that events such as Christmas and New Year's, they charged upwards of £500 per band, and Jane had been entertainment manager for 20 years at this point, with Robert as her right-hand man. That is at least £150 a week, if not more. I estimated they made roughly £2,000 a year from this, so over 20 years that's at least £40,000 of undeclared income. I also went around my friends at the club that had suffered injustice at the hands of Jane and Robert. So in total, I gathered 12 statements and over 50 signatures on a petition I created to remove Jane from her position as entertainment manager and to remove all of Robert's influence over the entertainment bookings. It was finally time to put my plan into action. I went straight to the committee head with the statements, petition and the evidence of their fake agency scam that I had gathered. He took the file and went through it that evening. Although I was not sure if he was on Jane and Robert's side, I had 3 encrypted digital copies in various places just in case he destroyed it. He called me the next day and I was requested to be at the next committee meeting in 2 weeks' time as an independent witness where they would confront Jane and Robert on their actions, and also if I could give a copy of my evidence to management. And of course, I did with pleasure. The day of the committee meeting came and it was glorious. At first they both denied everything, but when faced with the hard evidence I had gathered, they knew they could not get out of it. Upon seeing the statements and petition, Jane broke down and cried. Robert looked deflated and defeated. The committee voted unanimously not just to remove Jane from her position as entertainment manager, they voted to remove her from the committee altogether. The committee had told them that they would be seeking legal advice to try and recover the money they stole from the club and to find out whether they could press charges against them for theft and fraud. As a final kick in the teeth, the management decided to revoke their memberships and ban both Robert and Jane from the club premises permanently and indefinitely. My hard work over 10 months paid off in spades, and within an hour I had brought their world crashing down around them. I'm normally a really empathetic person, but they brought this upon themselves and I had no shred of sympathy at all. But I was not even done yet. I also took my evidence of the fake agency scam and along with the management and committee of the club reported both of them to the tax office for undeclared income and also to the police for fraud. It took them a good few months to investigate, and it also transpired that Robert was regularly traveling abroad to Europe, buying copious amounts of tobacco, cigarettes and alcohol, smuggling them back into the country, failing to pay the duty tax and selling them for profit. The club were able to press charges against Jane and Robert for theft and fraud and sue them for the money they stole by skimming from the band fees. The tax office also took them to court for undeclared income, unpaid income tax and in Robert's case unpaid duty tax and unlawful sale of restricted goods. They were found guilty of all charges, each sentenced to suspended jail time in order to repay the unpaid tax on their undeclared income, the unpaid duty, and repay the club the money they stole, as well as over £1,000 in compensation. The last I heard, they had both been declared bankrupt and had their cars, houses, and other valuables repossessed by the court to be auctioned off to pay back the money they owe. Finally, when I said I needed to make friends with pretty much everyone at the club for my end move, well, we just had the committee elections a couple of months ago and I was elected as entertainment manager with 96% of the vote. I'm loving my new role and everyone is happy with the bands I'm booking and the entertainment I've put in place so far. I also have a monthly discussion meeting with any members who want to turn up and ask for their input and suggestions and what they want to have going on at the club, something which never happened under Jane and Robert's dictatorship. And yeah, Ripe Stars, it almost sounds like Jane and Robert were actually leading an HOA instead of a music club. But yeah, props to OP for getting this revenge simply because people talk behind his back. That's also one of the things I really despise. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.